Hey guys, on today's episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, we are going to talk about the price that you pay for staying stuck in old patterns of behavior that are not serving you. You'll want to stick around for today's episode because I am going to talk to you about how you can start moving forward. You don't have to move mountains in a single day. There are little things you can do each day to really start shifting your life. So you'll want to stick around for today's episode. Before we get started, here is a word from our sponsor. Before we get started with today's episode, I just want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's episode, which is Podcorn. Podcorn is a marketplace that connects podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities. And with Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities. I personally have used Podcorn myself. It's an amazing opportunity to incentivize, earn a little extra money, while also being able to do what you love to do, which is to create your own podcast. You never give up any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is always there to support you every step of the way. It is so easy. All you have to do is browse through different sponsorships, send a proposal, and match with the people that you think would be a good fit for sponsoring your podcast. It's simple, it's easy, and it is actually a lot of fun to connect. So I want to thank Podcorn, and if you're a podcaster out there thinking about starting your own podcast, definitely give Podcorn a try. All right. So this is Melissa Oatman from melissaoatman.com. Welcome to today's episode. If you are new, I am so happy you are here. And if you are returning, you know that I am very happy that you're here today. So today I want to talk to you about the price of staying stuck. What is it costing you to stay stuck in those old patterns of behavior, the toxicity, all the things you're not doing to move forward on your journey in life? Now, I know that there are many of you out there who are doing things every day to try to improve your life. Obviously, you're listening to this podcast. You are into self-improvement. However, there's only so far you can go when you do things on your own. I am living proof of this because for a long time, I tried to just do things on my own. I tried to do meditations and tappings and listening to podcasts, which was great. It was all extremely helpful. But there became a certain point where I couldn't go any further with my development. And it's not because I wasn't good enough. That wasn't it at all. I was trying my hardest. It had nothing to do with that. What it had to do with was that I didn't have the tools that I needed to help me get unstuck. And here's the deal. If you ever listen to spiritual people, or you listen to other mediums or other coaches out there, they will tell you that they also work with coaches. And there's a reason for that. You really can't get to the core of your own issues when you're that close to the issue. That sounds really silly, but it's absolutely true. When you are trying to fix yourself, you can only really see so much of the big picture. You're blind to some of the things that are happening to you because you're so close to your own situation. Now, this may not really make sense to you right now as you're listening, but think about it this way. When you're in a car, you can have your mirrors adjusted so that you can try to see every angle. But there's a blind spot on your car where if someone is just right in that blind spot, you would swear there was no other car next to you. And if you didn't know the car was there, thank goodness now we have technology where your cars beep at you if they're sensing something next to you. But when I was a kid and I had my first accident, and this is an embarrassing story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because I think some of you might be able to relate. I remember that it was devastating, but we were traveling home from high school. I was a junior in high school, and I had my license for, I don't know, probably 6 months. I was driving, and we have in Collinsville a one-way street, and it's 2 lanes. And it was closed off because of a festival that we have every year that was happening. The Italian Fest was happening. And I panicked because the road was closed. I'm like, oh, I have to get over like now. And I was in this old car that we had. It was not a great car. And the mirrors, of course, were not super great because they were smaller then, because it was an older car. It was probably from the 70s. And I looked and I didn't see anything. So I got over, and I totally sideswiped a car, and it was somebody driving a newer car. I wanted to die like right then and there. I was panicked. You know that feeling when you get in an accident, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, that was the feeling I had. Of course, my sister was with me, and she's like, oh, what did you do? But then she was at least kind of comforting, She's like, oh, it'll be okay. And we pull over, and because my car was older, it was made of heavier metal, and this car was newer. It was made more of like plastic. So my car really had like a little dent, and the other person's car looked horrible because it was, again, that plastic that easily bends and folds and whatever. It's supposed to do that when you get in an accident, but it looked horrible. And the guy that I hit was older. He was probably in his 30s, and his girlfriend was with him, and she came up. They were super nice. Like, they were hugging me and comforting me because they felt terrible, because here I am, this 16-year-old girl who just gets in her first accident. And I remember calling my mom, and she was so mad. Like, it wasn't like, how are you? Are you okay? It was, what did you do? And so that made it worse, right? The panic, like, oh my gosh, my mom's mad at me. I'm going to get in trouble. Probably never going to be able to drive again. And then I remember the police officer that came to the scene was actually a distant relative of mine, and he was hugging me and saying, you've got to get back on the horse, you've got to drive again, you'll be okay, this is just a lesson. My point of this whole story, other than to hopefully make you feel not so bad when you have an accident, because I had my first one very early on, and I have to say it was a teachable moment. I didn't have many after that. Knock on something, I did not. So it taught me to really look and check and make sure before I get over. But the point was that there is a blind spot. It looked like it was completely clear for me to get over, and it wasn't, but I couldn't see that. And in the same way, when you try to heal yourself, there's that blind spot. There are things that are happening with you that you don't even see because you're too close to it. And everyone has that issue. I even have that issue. I will go to people sometimes when I need healing. I go to energy healers too. And they're like, well, this is going on with you, and this is going on with you. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. But I totally have been so oblivious because I'm so busy trying to do everything and be everything. And I don't realize that's even happening. And that's how it is for many of us. We have things going on that are so deep within us, we don't even realize they need to be healed. In talking to the group doing the masterclass this month, my Awaken Your Magic monthly membership, we were talking about that. We were talking about processing emotions. There were a lot of people who didn't really think about the stuff that comes up when you have to process emotions. And I worked with a client just recently, and she said, I know I need to forgive, and I know I need to open my heart chakra, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Like, I've tried. And I've heard that so many times before. Like, I've tried on my own. Nothing's working. And that's not at all uncommon. Because again, you can only get so far when you're trying to do things on your own. And that's not to say like you haven't done a great job so far. Of course you have. If you're trying to work on yourself, kudos to you. You pat yourself on the back. It is not easy, and it's very difficult to go through a spiritual awakening. And the whole point of going through the awakening and the whole process is to point out your shadows to you. Your shadows are those things, as the word would imply, that lurk in the darkness that you can't see, that come out when you get triggered. But until you get triggered, they lie there sort of dormant. And it's only when we realize that, hey, this happened the other day and I way overreacted. I wonder why I did that. That's when we realize, oh, I was triggered. What did that trigger really mean? What did it really have to do with? it's usually not even about the thing that it was about. I've talked about this before, but I took a class with somebody, and this teacher who she wasn't like a teacher. She was someone who was teaching what she knew, so it was like a workshop. If she had been a real teacher, I don't say this like in a mean way, I really don't. But you don't point people out in front of the class and like embarrass them. Like, that's just not something you do. But that's what this person did. It was like, let's put your answer up here on the board and let's pick it apart and point you out for the one who wrote it. Like, it's okay to put something up as an example and say, let's look at why this doesn't work. But you don't normally point out the person who did it and like, let's pick this apart, right? Hello. But it triggered me, as obviously it would. And as I realized that if you do that to kids in your class, it's going to. And I was like, okay, I don't like the way this person teaches. And I completely dropped out of the course. I was like, no, I don't like this at all. It's not to say I didn't learn some things, but I wasn't okay with the style of teaching and the methodology. I didn't like it. And that's perfectly okay, too. If you're not aligned with something, to let go of it. That's what this is all about. And I learned quite a bit, but I was like, okay, I think I've learned all I can learn, and I've learned how I don't want to be, and I don't want to continue this journey anymore. So, I thanked the person and said I'd really need to part ways. But I was thinking about the issue, and I thought, why does that trigger me? Like, what does that trigger within me? Like, why did that make me so mad? And yeah, you might say, well, you're a teacher and that's not good pedagogy, but it had to be deeper than that, because we've all seen that. We know there are bad teachers out there. There's bad everything out there. Anytime you deal with people, and people are in any profession, you're going to have people who are bad at it. So it wasn't about that. What was it about? So I had to really dig deep, and I realized that it wasn't about her style of teaching at all. It was about me, and that it triggered within me a feeling of feeling foolish, not knowing enough, not having enough. And that meant that I needed to work on my self-worth, my being enough, all those issues. And luckily for me, at that point, I had worked with coaches, and I knew enough that they had given me the tools I needed. And I just knew I needed to go back and do them again. I needed to use those tools again, dig a little bit deeper, uncover that layer, and heal it. That's really what it's all about with the spiritual awakening. It's like layers of an onion. You peel away one layer and you're like, oh, there's another one. Okay, I got to heal that. Oh, there's another one. Okay, I got to heal that. And it's a continuous process. Like, you're never going to be 100% healed. It's just not how it is. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Every time that trigger comes up, it gets a little less bad for you, if that makes sense. It's a little easier to deal with, but I knew this was a trigger, and it showed up faster for me. I realized more quickly what it was. Like, oh, it happened that day, and then that evening I was like, okay, this is what it is. But I still knew, with my gut that I don't want to continue with this person. And that turned out to be a good thing. Every time I listen to my intuition, I'm right. I will tell you that. So I knew that this was where I wanted to leave this person. But again, I thank them for what I learned, because I did learn. I learned a lot. And I learned about myself. I learned that I wasn't completely healed when it came to my feelings of not being enough, not being good enough. I had to heal those. But this is what I'm trying to say, is that I would never have known that if I hadn't worked with someone else. And even though she wasn't specifically trying to trigger me or get me to find that out, there are other coaches that I've worked with who were. They're like, let's look at what's going on and how can we fix this? And that's what I do with my clients, is we look at, okay, what's going on for you? What are the patterns you're seeing in your life? Why is that happening? And not only, it's important to, one, identify why it's happening. It's important to identify what's happening. Okay, I keep doing X, Y, Z. I keep self-sabotaging when it comes to my weight. I keep eating when I'm not hungry. Or I keep dating the wrong guys. I keep dating the wrong guys when I know I'm seeing the red flags and I don't ignore it fast enough. Or it's, I always think negatively. I blame myself. There's a lot of shame that goes on in my life and I don't know what to do about it. So we identify the things that are going on. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's the behavior that keeps happening. This is what I want to work on. We really go back and we dig deep. Why are you doing this? What's causing this? There's a cause. There's a root cause. Always, always, always. You're not just making things up. You're not just doing things because. There's a root cause. And it either comes from childhood, which is generally the case, past lives. It's usually a combination of both. There's some sort of karmic lesson or pattern that you're bringing with you from lifetime to lifetime. So we identify what it is. What am I doing and why am I doing it? And then once we can identify what you're doing and why you're doing it, we can look at several things. We look at, is there a trigger for this? Do I do this more often at certain times than others? You know, like with eating, overeating. Do I do this when I'm upset or when I need comforting, or what is it? You know, why am I doing this? When I self-sabotage, when I ignore the red flags, when I'm dating the wrong kinds of guys, am I doing this because I'm lonely? Like, what's the trigger? Then we use tools that I have to rewrite what's really going on. Because it's never like, I'm lonely, I'm this, I'm that. That's never the true thing. It's always something much deeper. It goes back to something like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I have a fear of abandonment. There's something lower level going on that you may not even know is going on. So we go back, and this is crazy because it's really interesting to me. You pick up on cues from your parents when you don't even realize it, when you're in the womb. And you would think, okay, I'm just a fetus in my mom's stomach. I don't know what's going on. Wrong, you pick up on things. So if she had a stressful pregnancy, if maybe you weren't exactly planned for and it was stressful, like all of those things we pick up on. And we get these cues from our parents sometimes that they don't necessarily mean to send to us or want to send to us. Like if you grew up with a single parent, they might have been very stressed out trying to provide for you, and you get this signal, this message, I'm a burden. And you're not. But that's the signal we get because we don't pick up on what they say necessarily. We pick up on their actions. And sometimes it is what they say, not that they're saying it to us. But if you heard your parents say, I don't know how we're going to pay the bills. I don't know how I'm going to get you to practice. I don't know how we're going to be able to do this. Or we can't afford this. Or I don't have time to run you here or there. We can't afford to sign you up for these practices. You take on this underlying thought that I can't afford, or I'm not worth, I don't want to invest in me, I don't want to invest in me. We all do it. Not because our parents wanted us to pick up on that, but because we are intelligent creatures, we do pick up on that. And if you're an empath, it's even worse because you picked up on it energetically. Not just what they were saying, but what your parents might have been feeling. So there's a lot going on there. And that's why it's super important to go very deeply when you try to heal, because on the surface level, you've probably done so much work on yourself and you think you're doing really well, but then you still feel stuck in certain patterns of behavior. And that's not an accident. You can only go so far when you're trying to do it by yourself. And let me tell you something, having someone there to help you feels so much better. You know you're not alone. And let me tell you something. My sister and I were talking about this the other day. We will go to lunch sometimes, and she will just talk about everything in her life and just talk and talk and talk. And then she'll say, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I did all the talking. And I'll say, no, that's okay. I'll let you talk and then it'll be my turn. And then she'll say, it felt so good to be able to get that out. And sometimes working with a coach, the best thing about it is you can air all of your grievances. You can say everything you need to say, and you don't have to worry about being judged. And you don't have to worry about anybody knowing what you said. And you can get it out. And those emotions are usually trapped so deeply within you. And when you don't have anybody to talk to about it, or you don't want to be a burden so you don't talk to anybody about it, it's so heavy. But when you work with a coach, you can say whatever you want to say. And anyone who works with me will tell you that I am a no judgment zone. There is nothing you can tell me that will shock me or that will make me say, oh my gosh, I don't want to work with you. Or, there's nothing. I judge no one. We all have our own unique stories and paths. And honestly, most of us, for the first part of our journey, it was not our fault, whatever our path was. What becomes our fault is when we know that we have this unhealthy behavior pattern and we don't do anything to fix it. That's what becomes our fault. Because as an adult, it's 100% your responsibility to fix what happened to you. Maybe it wasn't your fault what happened, and I know some people will say that's not fair, but that's victim mentality. It isn't fair that things happen to people. It's not. But it happened to teach you something. And you can either be bitter about it and continue going on and saying, I don't want to fix it. I'm just going to sit here and blame everyone else for my life and how crappy it is, which is unpleasant and going to get you nowhere. Or you can say to yourself, okay, this happened to me. I don't like it, but I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to fix it so that the rest of my life is amazing. Because it can be. You can absolutely change. And the cost of not changing is that you continue being unhappy in your life, feeling unfulfilled, feeling stressed out because you go throughout your day, every day, with the negative behaviors, negative mindset, unable to get out of that pattern of behavior you're stuck in. Maybe you've seen progress, but you're still stuck where you are, and you're like, I want to be here in 6 months, and you can't get there on your own, and you feel like you're just having a hard time getting out of that. It's not because you haven't tried, and I applaud you, again, for doing all the work you've done. But you can only get so far by yourself because you don't have the tools that it takes to get farther. And working with someone else, they have the tools, they have the training, they have everything you need to help you get to where you want to be. And I just want everyone to live their absolute best life. And that's not going to be a life where you feel sad or you feel unfulfilled. And of course, there are things you can do every day that will help you. And I have a free checklist. It's a checklist. It's called Habits of Highly Successful People. And in it, you can go through the checklist and see all of the habits that are toxic, that are keeping you stuck. And say, okay, am I doing this? Am I doing this? And there's some journaling prompts there. What am I doing that's keeping me stuck? And then there are habits that you should be doing now to help you be successful. And another journaling prompt of what am I doing? What can I do? How can I implement this? And that's completely free. And the link to get your free checklist is in the description of the podcast. So the show notes, you can go there, click on it, sign up, and you get it free. That's going to help you. But hopefully it will also help you see what you need to work on. And then I highly recommend you working with someone, because staying stuck, it's costing you your happiness. It's costing you quality of life. It really is. And for those of you who think I can't pay money to work on myself, you will spend money sometimes on a designer purse, or going out for drinks with your friends, or for the highest treats for your dogs. And I'm actually talking about myself. I do all these things, right? I'll go out for drinks with my friends, or I'll buy my dog stuff, or, my kids. And I realize that I had to also be willing to give to myself. If you want to receive, you have to give. And that means giving to yourself too. And it's not selfish. It's absolutely not selfish to work on your own healing. It's absolutely necessary. If you want to thrive in life, you have to do the work. There's no way of getting around it. You're either going to have to do it in this lifetime or another. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather learn it now and not have to repeat the lesson. It really makes me sad because I talk to a lot of clients who have waited so long to do anything because they didn't feel like they could spend money on themselves. And people will take a vacation or go get a massage, and they call that self-care. And of course, it is. But do you know what the best form of self-care is? It's working on your emotional and spiritual being. It's taking the time to heal the old stuff you haven't dealt with, because that's the stuff that's keeping you weighed down. It's the stuff that's keeping you stuck. And the cost of keeping yourself stuck is too high. It's costing you too much to stay stuck where you are and not heal yourself. The cost is too high. You're living a quality of life that is less than you deserve, because you don't deserve to be tired, broke, lonely, feeling unfulfilled, overwhelmed, underwhelmed with life. You don't deserve any of that. You don't deserve to be sick, and a lot of illnesses have underlying emotional causes. You deserve to be healthy, happy, deeply loved, and abundant. That's your birthright. And if you're not experiencing it, it's because you've forgotten who you are. You came here to learn how to be all of those things. And that means we have to unlearn all of the things that you've learned your whole life. Learning is really about unlearning. It's unlearning all of those old stories that you've been told your whole life, either from your parents or your family or just from society. Our society is set up in a way that causes you to be kept low. It is. And that's not where you belong. It's time for you to rise up. It's time for you to experience more love, more happiness, more joy, more abundance and wealth, and just fulfillment in your life. That's what is your birthright. It's time for you to claim it. And I hope sincerely that you're living all of that. But if you're not, it's time for you to start thinking about taking serious action, because you deserve all of that and more. And it makes me sad that anyone is out there doubting that they should take time or money to invest in themselves. And I'm telling you that investing in yourself is the best decision you will ever make. I'm living proof of that. If I hadn't done the work, and then all of the stuff that happened in 2020 happened to me, I wouldn't still be here. I probably would have had a nervous breakdown or a heart attack, or I don't know what else. I wouldn't have survived all of this. But working on myself and learning the tools that really helped me to grow and to handle what life throws at me with grace and ease, and to take it and actually turn and help others, that's priceless, and I never would have made it through if I hadn't done that work on myself. If you want to work with me, there are so many ways you can. You don't have to buy the top of the line package. I have so many offers out there. And if you're not sure what you want or what you need or what you can afford, you can always book a discovery call with me. If you go to my website, melissaoatman.com, on the homepage, click on Book Your Free Discovery Call. The calendar will pull up. You can click your slot. It'll be a 15-minute Zoom call. I can talk to you, we can connect, we can see what you want to work on, and if I can help you, and if you even like me, because we have to align energetically, we do. I can't help you if you don't like me, but we have to match up energetically, and I can figure out how I can best help you. And I'm here to serve, so please allow me to do so, because I really want you to be living your best life. All right, guys. Well, I pulled 2 cards for you today, and I pulled cards from my deck, Divine Whispers, and the first card I pulled is what is stopping you? What's holding you back today? The universe wants you to know that it's time to stop letting people or your own fears keep you stuck. When you are tapped into your intuition, you can't make a wrong decision. The only bad decision you can make is not moving at all. What is holding you back today? Summon the courage that I know is deep within you and take the first step today. You've got this. You have everything you need right now to be successful. You are being divinely guided and protected right now. And the second card I have for you is be a beacon of light for others. You have come here with a mission, my dear soul. One part of that mission is to be a light for others in a world that often feels so dark. All too often, we see so much darkness in the world, so it is crucial for us to show others that there is still light. You can be a beacon of light just by showing the world your kindness. You might be asking yourself, what can I do? The answer is that it is the little things that matter most. Hold open a door for someone, smile and say hi, or pay for someone's coffee. There are so many ways you can show others our light. What will you do to show your light today? All right, guys. Well, I hope that resonated with you. And I, again, hope that you are not staying stuck, that you are not letting things stop you. You are shining your light brightly because the world needs you. And you need yourself. You need yourself to show up fully in your power in life. If you are not, you can work with me. Again, go to my website, melissaoatman.com. You can book a discovery call with me. It's completely free. Or you can just take a look at the services that I offer and book them directly from my website. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I go live Mondays at 6:30 Central on Facebook, where I do a free card reading. And if you show up for the live, I'll pull a card especially for you. You can also join my monthly membership, Awaken Your Magic, which has a free masterclass each month, where we talk about different topics ranging from breaking free of financial limitations to calling in abundance, healing old emotional issues, and building self-confidence. Plus, there's a new topic each month, and there is a group card reading each month where we can pull cards and gain more clarity for any topic of your life to give you some direction and guidance. So consider joining that. We are having so much fun. Also, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening. That helps others to find me. And also, if you would want to share this podcast with others, that is the greatest compliment you can pay me. I want to thank you so much for always being here with me. I hope that this podcast helps you heal. It is my mission to help as many people heal as possible. I am sending you so much love and light. I hope you have a beautiful day from wherever you're listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.